All right. I have already apologized to the people at the tournament, but apparently this list was complete cheese. I totally did not intend to bring a cheese list. The tournament was supposed to be 1,000 points, and then you get a 250 sideboard. And I printed out a bunch of alien models that I wanted to paint, and I felt this was the motivation to go ahead and paint them. And I wanted a swarm, so it would be like my enemy army whenever I played solo. So I just didn't think about the list. I was just like, okay, I got all these grunts, I got all these wing grunts, shooter grunts, snatchers, snatcher lord. In fact, I left 5 snatchers at home, and I in favor of the shooter grunts, which was going to be in my sideboard. And then I had a devourer, but not a carnivore rex because devourer's too expensive. So I brought a Carnivo Rex, which is actually a really good model. Um, and they were just completely efficient. So the the list that I brought was not intended to be a power gaming list. I just had the models. I printed them out because I had intention to play against them in solo, and wanted to paint them and bring them out and just have fun with them and just watch a whole bunch of aliens just run around and get shot and blown up and whatever. I prepared myself for a lot of casualties, and but just go and charge and kind of be brainless, not really have much of a strategy. When I did make my list, I was just trying to fill out points so I could just maximize. My idea was to just maximize the points as much as I could. And I discovered this thing right here, piercing growth for the alien hives. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. Even I already got serrated claws on there because I always like to have AP. To get +1 AP on my grunts, my assault grunts, would be good. And my strategy was, okay, well, I'm going to hold them back for at least turn 1 and then start sending them in and blowing them up. And my Snatcher Lord, I was just clicking around trying to get AP or whatever, and I found this thing, Rapid Charge Aura, which gives them +4 charge, or already fast, Strider, Scout. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to pick one unit that I need to delete, and that's going to be my auto delete unit, and just kamikaze, kind of like I did with my high elf bikes in the last tournament. Just get up in their face, deny them points, and just hope for the best. The wing grunts were my ambushing units for wherever I needed help. Carnivore Rex was really my distraction. He has 12 toughness. I put regeneration on him, breath attack, just so he has a little extra, because I didn't realize I was using 7 attacks and really has 10 attacks, which is awesome. And then the Hive Bond, which gives them +1 to their morale checks. And then on my sideboard, I have shooter grunts. And if I went up against big units like tanks or monsters, I'd bring out the deadly guys. If I had swarms, which I really wasn't too worried about, I'd bring the blast. And if there's a combo, then I'd just bring a blast and deadly. But there were just going to be two shooter grunts. I put agile on them because they don't have fast. I didn't realize that until later in the tournament, so I might have messed that up. I'm not sure. But the agile gave them +1 to advance, +2 to rush charge. So that gave them a 7 movement and then shoot, even though their range is really, really bad. Just rush them up and turn 1, turn 2, start shooting with them, so on and so forth. Again, these guys were just distractors, just somebody to beat chaff, get up in their face, and then the grunts and the Snatcher Lords were really supposed to be my killy guys. And that's really all I thought about for the strategy of this army. I did not realize how good. I always heard, Alien Hives is great. They're S tier. They're always the best. I really didn't realize how good they were. So I went up first game against Sam's Ratmen. I was super excited to see Ratmen. A friend of mine over here likes Ratmen, so I wanted to see how they would do. He had 2 sets of warriors, with banner, musician, and the scurry gives them extra movement, +2, whatever movement they're doing. And they had spears, so they can counter. I think he forgot to use the spears. I didn't realize he had spears. So when I charged, he should have had that. I don't remember him ever saying that. So that was one that we missed. He did make great use of his Night Scouts. This is a really good, and I could see, yeah, it's expensive, so that's why you wouldn't get it. But that evasive aura is really, really cool. Evasive aura gives evasive. Enemies get -1 to hit rolls when attacking units where all miles. So against my 5 quality guys, this was not fun to go up against. He had his Battle Master with his Rat Ogres. I think that was what he wanted to focus on. They had 3 attacks with Rending and Furious. Furious gives you, when charging, unmodified results of 6, and melee deal 1 extra hit. So that's pretty cool. And then he had his artillery that I thought was going to be a problem, especially for my big monster. So I tried to keep him away from the artillery. And then for his sideboard, he brought the snipers. Now, these guys I was really worried about. I thought he was going to just pluck away at my guys and just whittle them down. So there's regular militia. The champion here was a caster, and he didn't put them together. Militia was just there to be a problem, and the champion. The snipers, well, they did not have the day that I thought they were going to have. As you can see here, let me pull this up. Okay, that's not the picture I wanted. I thought I had them in order. Hold on. Nope, it's a game. Here we go. All right, so he had his artillery over here and his snipers over here. And one thing I know we got wrong here, I don't know if it affected the game, but this was just supposed to be difficult, not cover terrain. We weren't supposed to have these trees here. I learned later that this was just supposed to be difficult or deadly, and difficult doesn't bother me, but I don't know if I used it for cover or not. So I had these guys hanging out here, waiting to just jump on. These are my shooters. I believe these were shooters. This was the beginning of turn 1, so I'd already moved my my regular grunts into the position here. They were supposed to hang out and then jump in. All right, before I get started on the whole spiel of what happened in the games, one really cool thing that they did in the tournament that I liked a lot was that the board started off with this and this, which is total blocking terrain. You had the forest here, which was cover and difficult terrain. And if you hid behind it, then they couldn't see you at all. This was here. This was here. This was just for cover. And that was it. Then then each player had a blocking, a difficult or deadly terrain thing, which we messed up here. I don't know if it affected. And then a cover terrain that we could put in there. We would alternate putting out the terrain, so every battlefield is going to look different. And I thought that was a great idea. Probably a suggestion was that it should be difficult, dangerous, or the forest, because that's what I would pick. So I would make that cover. Maybe it's see-through cover all the way through. I don't know. I know this one was, but it was so small they really didn't come into play very often. That's probably the only thing I would add to this tournament, but I thought it was such a great idea to be able to bring, they had terrain there that you would put onto the board to change it so that you can alter the landscape a little bit and make the games more dynamic. So I thought that was really cool. So we each put, we made a bigger line of blocking terrain to block out the whole middle area. And let's see, this was already there. I think I placed this, and he placed this. I placed this, and he placed this. This here is his ogres. All right, so these are his warriors. He moved this one up here already. His Night Scouts, his ogres, his elite guys, his snipers, his caster, and his artillery. And then he's got, I think he moved his, these are like his total chaff guys. They weren't very good at all. And I've already moved my, so yeah, he made 2 moves. I made 2 moves here. And basically what's going to happen is that one of these is going to go here. One of these is, this is a shooter, is going to go over here. And then eventually he was going to make his way around. I was worried about the artillery blowing him up. But what I ended up doing, he moved these guys in here to hurt these guys. And then his warriors went over here as ogres. And I put my um, wing grunts, and I believe they just took care of the artillery before it got to do anything. The snipers was the other unit I was worried about, but they blew themselves up. It's just one of those things Ratmen have, that if you roll a 1, they blow up, and I think the first time he shot with them, he rolled 2 1s, so he lost 2 of his snipers, and then the next time he shot, he lost the last one. So they ended up being a non-factor, and it was hilarious in a bad way. I mean, it was unfortunate that he didn't really get to use his snipers because they're reliable. The Ratmen don't have a lot of high-quality troops, and it's unfortunate that these guys got lost in that way, in such a ignominious way. It was just, they just became useless. This was useless, and those were the 2 that I was most worried about. And having said that, this game went my way. I sent the Snatchers to destroy his elite. They pretty much did that, so that was very good. His these guys were handled by my shooters, and then I believe these grunts came over here. Actually, I think the grunts just went in this direction because these guys were devastated already. The warriors tried to come back to deal with the snatchers as the snatchers went and took out his caster. And I believe the shooters just came through, blew up these guys, came around, just finished off everybody else that needed to be finished off. This side was a little bit more of a problem with me. The Night Scouts were an excellent unit. I was very impressed by them. I thought they were his best unit in this game. Of course, the Radical Ogres are very tough, but once he lost his cannon and once the chaff was cleared out, the monster and whatever was left over could deal with them pretty easily. So I have this picture here. You can see his warriors came back to help out with the snatcher, and these shooters just came in and dealt with whatever warriors were left. The snatchers did most of the work. As you can see, they wiped out his elite. They went after his leader, his caster, and by the time the warriors came back and the snipers blew themselves up, these grunts had taken this, the shooter grunts had taken this and come over here. As you can see, my wing grunts came in, they took care of his cannon and then helped destroy the rest of his guys over here. I believe the ogres were the last ones standing, but once he lost his scouts, that pretty much broke open the flank, and so they took him. And you can see what a difference the 2 armies are. The alien hives really need to be toned down in some way, because I had almost an entire unit of shooter grunts. I think this was another entire unit of shooter grunts, an entire unit of wing grunts, and my big monster only took 3 hits, and I still had my leader with 1 hit on him, standing over here on this objective. And that was it. There was no reason to go on, and the Ratman got completely wiped out. I don't think there was anything he could have done. My list is just that ridiculous, and you'll see that the theme moving forward of how bad this would get. All right, so next opponent was Devin. He brought the Blood Brothers, and he had Pathfinders, or Elite Pathfinder that was joined to the Blood Battle Brothers, which is this right here. It gave them melee shrouding aura, which is, let me find it here. Enemies get -3 movement when trying to charge units. So this was a really good for me not coming in and flying in and blowing up his blood battle brothers right here. He had blood of veteran assault brothers, but there's only 3 of them. So there's just not a lot of shots. He gets 6 shots in close combat. He's tough to kill. These guys were tough to kill, but there were only 1 wound. So that wasn't, once I got through his formidable defenses, they went really quick. Blood Support Brothers, again, only 3 units, but the heavy flamers were perfect against me. They did a lot of damage, if I remember correctly. APC was a really good move here because it protected his guys on turn 1 for the most part and gave me a lot of problems. Blood Artillery Gun. This was basically to blow up my big guy, but yeah, it just didn't come into play that much. Let's see, what did he bring? He didn't bring the deadly. I believe he brought these guys here, the destroyers. I can't remember, but I believe it's destroyers. Let me take a look at the picture here. So we set it up so that, and again, this should have been not cover. This was deadly, this was regular. I think we used it as cover. I can't remember too much. It was a little confusing. But then we deployed. I had my regular grunts here, shooter grunts on the side, snatchers tucked in right back here, and of course my big guy, which was going to avoid this gun right here. Now this had flamers on it, so I knew I had to take that out quickly before it started whittling me down. And what ended up happening, he moved his APC in here. He had 2 units in here. He dumped them out, including the flamer guys and I believe the assault guys. Oh, he had Ooh. These guys were just back here protecting everything. Let me see. What did he have? Support brothers. Yeah, so no, the support brothers were in the tank. I believe the assault brothers were in the tank, and he brought heavy fusion rifles. That's what these guys were. So again, this was really good against my big guy. I think everybody was just over concerned about my big guy, and that's why they had trouble. So we had fusion guns here, and they were in Overwatch most of the time. And I learned this rule. I did not know that they carried over the Overwatch into the next turn. So on turn 1 he did Overwatch, and turn 2 he used the Overwatch and then got to shoot again. So he got 2 shots in turn 2. And I didn't believe him at first. He showed me the rule, and sure enough, that's what it says. Until your next activation, you get to hold on to that Overwatch. So I'm going to be looking more into that Overwatch, because that is a great move. And my next game, you'll see, I was ready for it because the next opponent was doing really, really well. He really knew how to use it. And so I'm glad I faced Devin first, because he taught it to me. And I did lose a bunch of guys. I believe my snatchers. No, I moved my snatchers over here. He dumped out his flamers or something, blew them up, got his assault guys in there. And so this whole squad was wiped out on turn 1. And I was like, uh-oh. I was very confident after the first game. I was like, yeah, this is a ridiculous list. I really have no chance of losing. And then when I lost my snatchers turn 1, they didn't do a thing. I thought, yeah, this is not going to be good. I popped my wing grunts over here, and they got wiped out immediately. But that allowed me to get all my other guys in. And so much later on, I started slowing down my pictures quite a bit. The assault grunts came through here, and the shooter grunts came through here. Another assault, and I believe these are assault. No, these are regular grunts, shooter. So he took out my guys very quickly, but then I was able to swing around and get through. And as you could see, he basically called it there. He's got his regular brothers protecting his gun, and I've lost my snatchers. I don't even think this guy took a wound. The shooters took a hit. I don't even know if these guys got any action. These were the other grunts. These were the shooter grunts waiting for these guys to come down. They never did. And yeah, the alien hives are just redonkulous. So I lost my wing grunts over here. So he took out my wing grunts, but that allowed me to get in here and start shooting him up and hitting him with my grunts. And I had these guys left over. I don't even think they got in. These two didn't even get into the action. These guys really didn't get into the action, but as you could see, I took out his APC, his assault grunts, or his assault marines, and the flamer marines, and then these guys went after his plasma gun guys. But there were just 3 models in each one. And they only had 1 wound each, so if I could get enough dice, which alien hives do, there was just very little that he could get done over there. And this is when I started feeling really bad because I thought that was a good, tough list. And I might be in some trouble there. But again, this list just more than pulled its weight. I didn't do anything super strategic. In fact, I made a mistake with the snatchers over here, and I purposely sacrificed my wing grunts over here so that I can get in and start beating him up with the units that I wanted to get into the action. And another thing too is that they just would not go away. As you'll see in the next game, I would make all of my morale checks. So the next game that I had, it was against John and his Plague Brothers. Now these guys, and we talked before the game, his guys were set up to destroy swarms. So I was like, uh-oh, this is a game I could lose. And it was actually a really good game. He had Plague Brothers with versatile defense, so he was very tough to kill, and there's 5 of them. Plague Destroyers, which have tough 3, and they're, again, with the Plague bound, they're tough to kill as well. He did an ambush with them, which I was kind of surprised, but he has Bane, which means that I have to re-roll 6s, so the AP1 put me on 6s, so any saves I made were just not going to work. So those Destroyers were really, really tough to deal with. Then he had his drone. This was, again, designed to destroy swarms. The Plague Hauler, that was his deadly, so I had to be careful with my monster because this thing would make short work of it. So wherever he put this, I was going to put it on the opposite end. And then for his sideboard, he didn't bring in, I think he just brought in Chosen Plague Brothers. I don't remember. Let's see, Plague Launchers. I believe it was this, yes. There was 3 guys with Blast, and they had Bane, which was really bad for me. So let's take a look at the board here. And again, I was very lazy with my picture taking, so this is really the end of the game. He had his main gun line over here. I didn't realize that he could shoot through this, so he messed up my shooter grunts, and they failed their first morale test, so they were stunned. But then I started sending everything in this direction here to deal with it. He kept backing off, so I was able to take 2 of these, and I sent some of my grunts, I believe I sent grunts and shooter grunts into here to just mess with these 2 vehicles that did come down. And because he had now one had blast and one had deadly, so in this direction here. And his blast guys were waiting for my snatchers to come out and blow up his stuff, and he kept putting them on overwatch. So I could not bring out my grunts nor my snatchers until really the last turn. And it got very dicey. I was getting points because now we were doing the cumulative. He was getting 1 point for this. We were contesting this, so I was ahead by at least 2 points as we got into the end game. And I just forced him into making a decision whether to go after my grunts, who went in and destroyed his regular brothers. I believe the wing grunts and then eventually the scouts took out his destroyers, and this monster came in and destroyed those guys with blast. I think these guys, no, they were still alive. But the point being is that I had one assault grunt here. This is assault grunts. They were hardly touched. As you can see, my monster was way down. Well, not way down, but he was below half. My winged guys were well below half. The snatchers came in at the very end and didn't get touched. I did do some damage to these guys here, but the point being is that I only failed that one stun test, and then I passed all the others. So this guy was still available. These guys were still available. These guys were still available. None of them got stunned or ran off the board. They just kept sticking around, sticking around. And I believe this might be another weakness of the tournament, is that you didn't get credit for the points unless the unit was completely wiped out. And if you got 1 out of 10 guys, I think you should at least get half points if it goes below half. You got to get some sort of credit, because he willed my guys down the most of any opponent that I had, and deserved a lot better from the scoring system than what actually happened. But again, even this army was designed to beat my army, and I don't think I did a great job. I think I did an okay job playing, and I thought John did a terrific job with his list building, with his tactics. I think the only disagreement I had is that I would have popped my Overwatch on these guys here, and then just taken the Snatcher attack at that point, and hope that these Marines would at least get some sort of counterattack to this going on. That's the only thing I probably would have done different, and we talked about that after the game. But again, this Alien Hives list was just ridiculous, and I felt like no matter what I did, as long as I didn't make every single stupid mistake that I could possibly make, that I was going to win. And it really was unfair. I feel really bad about that. Now that I took care of John, I was almost depressed at how good this list was, because nobody really had fun. I mean, we had fun because we got together and rolled dice, but they just didn't have a chance. I just didn't. All I had to do was not make silly mistakes, and I was going to win, and that's not good. So this is an open plea to OPR. Take a look at Alien Hives again. Something needs to be done to make them not quite this powerful. They just rolled everything. So anyway, I've got 3 wins. I beat the best players. There was one more player that was doing really well, and I would face him in the next match. And let me pull up his list. So we went to the Havoc Warriors. So he decided to bring lots of bodies. Okay, so he named it right here, bodies, sideboard C. And that would give him 20 block, in addition to 2 sets of Barbarian Raiders. So they look a lot like Alien Hives here. He's got versatile defense on both of them, which is really good. He gets an AP of 1. He has Furious, Havoc Bound. What did Havoc Bound do? I mean, there's a lot of stacking of rules here. When it shoots an enemy over 9 inches away, or when it charges, it gets AP1. So he had extra AP1, which really didn't matter against my guys, except for maybe the Snatchers and the Monster. But that was about it. So, they're very... one complaint that that Brian had, and that's who I was playing here, was that they're very much a glass cannon. They play a lot like high elves, and they really should be more chunky. Anyway, he had 2 sets of 5 warriors. Those are the guys that I was probably most worried about. They had 2 attacks each, and they had defense. good defense, and he brought the bodies. He didn't bring the artillery, which I thought if he brought the blast one, that would probably be a problem for me. So I don't know if he should have brought this one or this one, but he decided to go with the bodies. So let's take a look at the pictures here. Was it this one? No, I didn't take a picture of it. I was just so out of it. Anyway, yeah, I don't even think I took a picture of that at all. Um, I just felt so bad about how things were going. His Slaughter Beast was probably his best unit against me, and basically my monster went against his monster. But because I was able to chew through his barbarians and his bodies so quickly, and then he was sending his warriors, he sent his warriors to help out his right flank, and I popped my wing grunts, cut him off basically, diverted these warriors to deal with my wing grunts, and yeah, everything else. Then just the full weight of my army just went and chewed him up again, and it was another board wipe. It was a total massacre. Again, I thought he played very well. He moved in, took some good chances, and there was just nothing he can do. And I promised them I would never bring this alien hives again. I'm putting them in the corner. They're going to be my main opponent when I play solo coming up this summer, and they're just they're banned as far as I'm concerned. I think I'm going to have to start thinking of lists that are going to beat that, because you go to a tournament, you got to expect one of these alien hive lists to pop up, and they're just a real pain to deal with. Yeah, you can send blast units, blow up one of these units, but unless you have several blast units, you can't get through all of these guys here. And then on top of that, a Carnival Reg, they're always going to have some sort of big monster coming in that you have to deal with deadly and high AP. And if you have a lot of blast stuff, then you don't have that deadly AP. So they're just very versatile, very easy to play. I would call it a beginner army. If you're new, yeah, go crazy with the alien hives. They're a lot of fun because they're going to win you a lot of games. But obviously I ended up winning the tournament, and I can't apologize enough. I felt like that's all I did during this list, or this tournament. I did not mean to do this. I will never do this again. Yeah, I like to bring a good list and have fun, but no, this was just unfair, and I don't know how OPR is going to deal with them, but yeah, something needs to change with the alien hives, or maybe I'm overreacting. I don't know. Maybe everybody was just having a bad day. I did do very well with the dice. Like I said, I kept rolling whenever I had a morale check. Because of the hive bond, I was 50% or better chances, and I think I only failed one, maybe two, the entire tournament. So that was good rolling. I remember one time I had 3 saves and I needed 6s, and I rolled all 6s. I know it's a bad combination there, but I did roll really well. Some of my opponents, like Sam, rolled really poorly, but I don't see how their lists were flawed in any way. I didn't see how their gameplay was flawed in any way. So that leaves me with the conclusion that this list was just not fair in a tournament. But the tournament itself, I know I probably should have mentioned this in the beginning, was super well run. I don't remember any games going over. The games started on time. They ended on time. The rules were simple enough, but that were easy to pick up. For instance, the terrain, but not so complicated that we had trouble understanding what was going on. The scoring was at first just the end of the game for the first 2 rounds, then progressive the final 2 rounds, and I thought that was great. I was the only one that had an issue with a rule, and that was on Overwatch because I didn't know what it was. And I'm glad I played that so that I know what Overwatch is. I really like the idea of having the advanced moves. I think that makes the game complete. It really should be part of the main rule booklet. I wish OPR would just add that part in there, and some things like the terrain rules, where you have base terrain and then you get to put a couple of pieces of terrain to make the board just a little bit more dynamic. I think another thing too, that reason why Alien Hives did so well is the 4x4 board really helped them out. I was able to fly all over the board and reach out and touch pretty much anything I wanted with my speed and my strider. So that really helped me there as well. It was just tailor made for me to use this list, and unfortunately beat up everybody. Last thing I want to say, the players there are super cool. I was driving back with my wife because we made the trip down there, and she was nice enough to come with me and keep me company. And I was saying, these guys are so cool. It makes me want to move down to North Carolina and just play every week with these guys. The guys over here that play 40K, they're very nice too, very similar. But there's something about these North Carolina guys that they're super chill. They're very smart, and the tournaments that they run are, every time I go down there, it seems to get better and better. I just really enjoy the way that they set it up. They organize it. Oh shoot, I'm terrible with names, but the person that runs it is Josh, I believe. Oh, forgive me if I mixed you up. I didn't get to play Eli. I was hoping to play Eli. Usually we have an epic game together. But the tournament is always really well done. At Atomic Empire, which is a great place. They have tons of room here, which I thought was awesome. We had 4 tables because we only had 8 players, and everything was set up ready to go when we walked in the door. And it was easy to clean up afterwards, even though I didn't help too much. I was too busy flapping my guns and talking about what had happened. Next thing I know, everything was pretty much cleared off by somebody. And yeah, it's a really good atmosphere. Plenty of room, plenty of things to buy there. I highly recommend it. I can't believe we only had 8 players. After the tournaments that they put up, this OPR needs to promote this tournament because they do a wonderful job for just putting something together. This is not a convention or anything. This is just something that the local guys do. And I wish OPR would give them a little bit more attention, and more people would show up because they do a wonderful job. These terrain pieces right here are so simple. The trophies they give out are all, I didn't realize they had magnets at the bottom, and I thought that was really cool. Now I can put them on my trays, and they didn't fall. I put them in my box, which is magnetized, and I realized it wasn't moving, so that was good that it didn't slide into one of my other models. So just a lot of thought into their details. You can see right here they've got these trays here which you can put markers in and keep track of everything. Just primo in their setup. So kudos to them. And I had a great time. I'm glad I was there. And I hope everybody had a good time, even though my list was ridiculous. I already promised them I will not bring that list again, as I said 100 times. But thanks for watching, and I'm going to just wrap it up right here. The next video I'm going to do is they did a survey, and I have a couple things to say about the tournament, so I'm going to make that my next one. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.